kids are scary, man. Danganronpa, another episode, Ultra Despair Girls, damn that's a long name, is developed and published by Chunsoft in 2015 in North America for the PS Vita and later ported over to the PS4 and PC in 2017. This is the spin-off title that takes place between the first and second game, following Komaru Naegi, the sister of the protagonist from the first game, Makoto Naegi, and Toko, one of Makoto's classmates from the killing game they were a part of. I'm kinda excited to get into this one. This seems like a horror-themed shooter, which is my kind of fetish, with titles like Resident Evil 4 and Fear being some of my favorite games ever. Third-person shooter action in the Danganronpa universe? Sign me up. Let's get into it. The graphics look, well, this is certainly a budget game. The devs captured the 2D art style in 3D pretty well, but the way they handle the lighting in game or during cutscenes look like ass. It looks unrendered, like the models aren't affected by the lighting, so they look flat and dull with no shading at all. The 3D animations are rough to look at as well. They look very stiff and floaty, like the animators didn't have time to polish everything. The game has cutscenes animated by the studio behind the anime adaptations, LARK, as well as the pop-up book looking ones from the main titles, and they look good for the most part, so it would have been nice to have more of those. And as always, the art style is unique and awesome. The performance on PC is nice as well, running smoothly with no crashes. The game has a Danganronpa look now, but I just wish the lighting and animations were better. It's not like the Vita can't handle detailed graphics, so I can only think of budget being the problem, which is a shame, but at least the devs focused their attention on more important things than graphics. So Ultra Despair Girls looks like an average third-person shooter, but that's only a small part of its gameplay. In addition to shooting robots, this is also a surprisingly fun puzzle game. Let's talk about the shooting first. It feels okay. It's nothing special, just aim and shoot. The only problem I had with it is the sudden transition to aim mode. The zoom is way too quick and had me nauseated at the beginning. Anyway, you kill enemies by shooting them with your megaphone hacking gun thing. It takes a few bullets to kill an enemy, so you're encouraged to shoot them in the eye, which is an instant kill, and if you do, the next shot will be more powerful, wiping out an enemy in just a single shot no matter if it's the eye or not. There are also different ammo types to get throughout the game that are suited for specific types of enemies. The enemies are pretty easy. Using a mouse and keyboard, I can get eye shots no problem, and it only gets messy when a lot of enemies are on screen. This is where Toko comes in. Toko can transform into Genocide Jack and the game becomes a character action game, cutting shit up with her scissors. You can activate Genocide Jack with a press of a button anytime as long as you have enough batteries. You can also upgrade Jack along with modifications for Komaru's hacking gun in various upgrade shops spread throughout the game. Along with upgrades, you can also equip skills to help in combat, which can be obtained during leveled ups, or if you do well at the end of every level, where inside Toko's delusions, a tied up Byakuya gets slapped a few times and praises you. This made me really uncomfortable. I needed an adult. The combat overall is serviceable. Komaru is your standard third-person shooter, and Toko is your basic-ass character action game. Nothing deep, but not offensive either. The Monokuman arcade puzzle rooms are where the good shit's at. These are mini challenges with tasks like clearing out a room only using certain ammo types, or sneak past enemies and deactivate them. Most of the challenges are of the clear out every enemy variety. Basically, you have to kill everything in the most efficient way possible. Before you begin clearing the room, you get a bird's eye view of the room to figure out how you can approach it. They're not super hard or anything, but it's pretty satisfying. It's like setting up a Rube Goldberg and watching every element you use come together in one final killing blow. It's awesome. The stealth sections though, not so much. The enemies always seem to catch me no matter how well I hide, so I gave up on that shit. Sometimes the AI bugs out and doesn't do what you want them to do. For example, if you shoot a dance bullet to attract all nearby enemies to a location to kill them all at once, one of them can just walk outside the killing zone with no way of getting back in. If you shoot the killing blow and miss even one enemy, you fail, so that's a lot of anus painus right there, but aside from the bad AI sometimes, the puzzles are well done. There are a few more gameplay elements as well, like boss fights or whatever the fuck this is. but there's not much to them, so I'll mention them in the story section. And if you played a Danganronpa game before, you know it's gonna get fucked up. It's story time. If you wanna avoid spoilers, go to the timestamp on screen now. Even though this is a story set after the first game, it has details that spoil the second game as well, so play the first 2 games before watching this part. There's edge, a lot of edge, so prepare to get cut. The story follows Komaru Naegi, the sister of Makoto Naegi from the first game. During the events of the first Danganronpa, or maybe a bit before that, Komaru and her parents were kidnapped and split off into different locations. Komaru was imprisoned inside an apartment where she spent the next 2 years of her life in. One day, a Monokuma robot breaks down her door and presumably tries to kill her, but Byakuya, who's now part of the Future Foundation, an organization set to make the world back to normal and not filled with murderous robot bears, come to the rescue and gives Komaru a hacking gun that can blow up Monokumas. Byakuya tells Komaru to meet with a Future Foundation agent in the nearby diner, but what a surprise, shit's fucked there too. The agent, wounded on the floor, tells Komaru to exit from the back and meet up with his associates at the park, where their helicopter is. We get an info dump about the tragedy and where Komaru is. Komaru has been held prisoner in Towa City. Towa City is a high-tech city owned by the Towa Group, a big tech company. The reason why it wasn't affected by the tragedy as much anyway was because the city was so technologically advanced that not even the mastermind could do anything about it. Until now, that is. So the Monokumas come in, hijack the helicopter with Komaru in it, crashes the helicopter, and Komaru gets kidnapped. She wakes up 2 days later in a weird room with Nagito, the crazy motherfucker from the second game, who looks like a slave for some reason. Nagito tells Komaru to meet with everyone and keep that hacking gun of hers a secret. Komaru makes her way through some hallways and Monokumas before meeting with some kids. They call themselves the Warriors of Hope, and are the villains of this game. The kids have been through some shit. They were mistreated by their parents and adults around them, so they want revenge, create a paradise where only kids exist, and that means unleashing an army of killer robot bears to kill all the adults, and brainwashing all the kids, making them hostile to any grown-ups, whether they like it or not. Because Komaru's not a little girl, the kids want to hunt her down, strap a wrist bomb on her, and drop her off on a roof somewhere. Trapped on the roof with nowhere to go, Toko, or Genocide Jack, comes to the rescue and Komaru is saved along with making a new friend, kinda. Toko is here to find Byakuya because he's been kidnapped. Now Komaru and Toko embarks on a journey of friendship filled with Yuri undertones to rescue Byakuya and find a way out of Towa City while also probably killing some kids. They don't kill any kids. The other kids do that for them. Basically, you go from location to location, solving puzzles, blow up Monokumas, and fight one of the Warriors of Hope at the end as a boss battle. Along the way, you will learn about the villains, what their motivations are, and how Komaru transformed from a normal high school girl into the ultimate little sister of Hope. At least, that's what the wiki says. I don't remember her getting that title at the end, but it sounds about right. The Warriors of Hope consist of 5 members. Masaru, the little ultimate PE, Jotaro, the little ultimate art, Kotoko, the little ultimate drama, Nagisa, the little ultimate social studies, and Monica, the little ultimate homeroom. One day, the 5 of them tried to commit group suicide by jumping off of a building until Junko Enoshima, the mastermind herself, comes in to give them a little bit of hope, really enough, and inspires them to help her take over the world and generally just fuck shit up. Let's get into these kids some more. That sounded really wrong. Masaru is a kid raised by an alcoholic father who treated him like shit. Jotaro was born looking different than other kids, so his parents made him wear this ugly mask to hide his face. Turns out though, he's actually a very pretty boy, and his parents are just jealous assholes. Also, damn does he have a passion for art. Kotoko is a well-known child actress. Her mother prostituted her out to producers in order to market her, because apparently everyone's a pedophile in the TV and movie industry, and she even joined in on the fucking. The phrase "I'll be gentle" was used so many times that whenever she hears the word gentle, Kotoko has a mental breakdown from PTSD. Nagisa's parents force him to study 24/7 for good grades. Like literally, they jab a bag of IV fluid into him and have him drink those energy supplement things so he can rack up XP. Like he's a video game character. If you watch a lot of anime, this type of edgelord writing shouldn't be new to you. Monica is the illegitimate child of the chairman of Towa Group and woman. After being abandoned by her mother, her father took her in, but she was treated really badly. Monica felt so unloved to the point of pretending to be a paraplegic just to get some sympathy. These situations that the kids experience do happen in the real world, and I'm not trying to downplay them. I just can't help but feel that they're pretty generic and overdone because of how many times I've seen them in media. Anyway, it's easy to see why the kids hate the adults. On the protagonist side, we have Komaru and Toko, and their story is about stop being a pussy and deal with shit. Komaru gets thrusted into this demon hunting game by the kids, and since she sees herself as just a normal high school girl, she of course doesn't have the confidence needed to survive. This is where Toko comes in. Having already survived the killing game, Toko came out a stronger person than before and even gained a husbando. Kind of. Whenever Komaru feels like shit, Toko is there to snap her out of it, and you can feel them slowly forming a bond together, even if most of their conversations are just Komaru complaining and Toko telling her to grow some metaphorical scrotums. The writing is still cheesy, which is expected, and so is the English voice acting, but the mindfuck Danganronpa moments are still here and they're still wild. The first level takes the girls through the ruins of Towa City looking for a way out. They met a guy by the name of Yuta, an upbeat fellow who looks really similar to that donut girl from the first game. I wonder if they're related. Yuta also has a wrist bomb strapped on him, so he has also been branded a demon by the kids. Anyway, the girls along with Yuta arrives at the edge of the city, which is on an island by the way, but finds out that the bridge connecting it to the other side got fucked. Yuta has the brilliant idea of swimming across, and judging from who his sister is, he can probably do it. After swimming for a bit, the wrist bomb beeps and he blows up. Yeah. So, the one cool thing that this game does is have relatives of the characters from the first game appear as cameos. It's cool to see how the people close to the characters we like are doing in the outside world. I mean, most of the time they just die after talking to you for like a few minutes, but still cool nonetheless. Eventually, the girls find their way into the subway where the red kid Masaru comes to kill the evil adults. Boss fights are pretty easy. Just shoot the weak points and dodge the big mech's predictable attacks and you're home free. After defeating Masaru, he gets dragged into oblivion by the brainwashed Monokuma kids to never see the light of day again. Komaru and Toko meets this white Monokuma named Shirokuma that seemingly snapped out of his killing functions and wants to help adults. Shirokuma even started an underground bunker in the sewers for adults, keeping them safe. He brings Komaru and Toko to the bunker where they meet Hiroko, Hiro's mom, and Haiji Towa, the son of the chairman of Towa Group. Haiji is acting as the leader of the underground resistance, but can't do shit since they don't have any weapons. Toko criticizes Haiji's cowardice because he's not doing anything despite the fact that he doesn't have many options. Haiji gets pissed and the girls fuck off. Before leaving, Shirokuma gives the girls a laptop that can communicate with the Future Foundation. But there's a jammer on top of Towa Tower that needs to be disabled first. Komaru and Toko makes their way up to Towa Tower with the assistance of Chihiro's dad, who gets absolutely murdered, and fight the art kid Jotaro. Jotaro wears this Leatherface looking mask over his head because his parents thought he looked different than the other kids. Hearing the word different, you would think that his face is ugly or disfigured in some way, but no. This boy could have been a TikTok star and his parents were just assholes. Anyway, the girls make their way to the top and they were met by our boy Makoto, reuniting the siblings at long last. The two catch up for a bit and Komaru asks Makoto to send help, but he can't since the kids will just blow her up if he does. So to get out of this place, Komaru needs to get the wrist bomb off. We also find out that Toko is not supposed to be there. She's only in Towa City because she heard of Byakuya's kidnapping and is hoping to get some penis after rescuing him. In between chapters, we see the Warriors of Hope doing their thing and see how their group dynamic is. There's a lot of laughing, ass kissing, bitch slapping, and the kids have their own Monokuma named Kurokuma who is an advisor for them, but he doesn't do much except make shitty jokes. Eventually, the girls make it back to the resistance only to find Monokumas everywhere and help defend the adults. After a section that lasted too long, Haiji blames Komaru and Toko for not being careful, leading the Monokumas to their hideout, even though there's someone else who could have done it and are just lying. They get thrown into a cell and gets treated like ass cheeks. For some reason, Kotoko, the pink girl, decides to save Komaru because she likes cute things and thinks Komaru is cute. Okay. Kotoko takes Komaru onto her fuck train, where you have to play this molest minigame to stop hands from touching her, like, what the fuck? And Toko transforms into Genocide Jack to save her. Jack catches up to the train, cuts up Kotoko's clothing, revealing her underage lolly body, but it's okay because she's actually 18. She's 18. That means all the other kids are also 18. So, but the story is about kids hating adults and want to kill them all, but they're also adults? What? After the boss fight, before Kotoko gets dragged into the Shadow Realm, Genocide Jack stops the kids and saves her to find out where Byakuya is. Before Kotoko can say anything, Nagisa shows up to offer a deal. Needless to say, Komaru and Toko has been fucking up all of Warriors of Hope's plans and has been a huge nuisance. Nagisa wants to get the girls out of this place, removes Komaru's wrist bomb, and never come back. In doing so, Nagisa is now a traitor, and you have to defend him as you go through the city because he's a traitor now and all the robots attack him. Eventually, they make it to a shrine where there's an underground tunnel under one of the wooden statues. Nagito comes out of nowhere to call Nagisa a traitor, fucks him off, and reveals a bunch of meta fourth wall breaking shit. Nagito made a deal with Toko. For Byakuya, Toko was to bring Komaru to the kids' headquarters. Throughout the game, the Monokuma kids help the girls, giving them items and ammo to help them on their way. Nagito was the one who told those kids to do it, along with making enemies drop items as game balance. What does Nagito want with Komaru? Well, he's mad that he wasn't there to see Junko die, and now he wants to see Komaru, the sister of the Ultimate Hope, take down the Warriors of Hope. If you know Nagito, he's kinda weird with his morality. Even though he's one of the remnants of despair at this time, he does not give a fuck about succeeding Junko and help realize her goals after her death, and his obsession with Hope is still very much present. Anyway, Komaru is now questioning Toko's friendship. Toko, being the weirdo tsundere, I don't know man, that she is, decides to push Komaru away because she feels guilty about lying to her, and they have an epic anime boss fight where they jump around and you have to shoot her at the right time like every other boss. Whatever, after the fight, there's like an 8-minute cutscene of the girls making up and becoming the bestest of friends. The girls decide to go back to the Resistance to check up on the adults. A bunch of shenanigans later, we cut to the Warriors of Hope. Nagito's tied up for going against kids' orders. Monica comes in and explains that it was her that ordered Nagito to bring Komaru to her because it has something to do with Junko and Noshima's successor, and that she doesn't care about Paradise for Children. Monica then forcefully mouth rapes Nagisa and he starts slapping her. So at this point, this boy is scared shitless and Monica asserts her dominance even more by kissing him again, unfazed from the pain from the many slaps laid on her. Look at the pain in his eyes. After that nightmare, the girls arrive at the Resistance base and do yet another defense mission against Monokumas. The Monokumas keep popping up, but Shirokuma found where the hole they're coming from is and exploded it shut, sacrificing himself. Mostly anyway. His head is still fine, so everything is okay. Haiji decides that it's time to actually fight back and even has a plan. Inside Towa's secret lab, there's a weapon that can turn the tides of the battle. Inside the lab is this huge Monokuma mech that can definitely turn the tides, alright. Why is it a Monokuma? We'll find out later. Suddenly, Nagisa comes down with his mech and starts 360 no-scope and everything. No, seriously, look at this shit.
I put in more effort than anyone!
How did he even hit me? After Nagisa dies, the crew takes the robot and get the fuck out. An intermission from Monica shows her talking to her mom and dad in a bloody room saying their child is going to be the next Junko and Oshima. That's fucked. It's almost the end. Haiji controls the big Monokuma heading straight to Towa Hills where the kids are hiding. So the girls get in there, explore a bit, and comes across a door that needed a scan of the Towa Group chairman's eye. His body is in his office, but it's too heavy for Komaru to drag all the way back, so she cut it off. This is giving me PTSD flashbacks. Before scanning the chairman's eye, Komaru drops the head, and the chairman's ghost shows up for some reason, and only Komaru can see him. Komaru told Toko about the ghost, and when Toko does a fake exorcism, the ghost dies, even though she's just faking it. Like, what is happening? The ghost reveals that Monica is Haiji's little sister. So we know that Haiji and his dad doesn't like Monica, but she was such a genius at tech that they made her an executive at Towa Group. The chairman at Monica did what she wanted and stayed out of her business, since she's making the company a lot of money. After Monica met Junko and started to help her with her world domination thing, she made the Monokumas, and Junko became an important client of the Towa Group. Throughout the story, Haiji has been hesitant about getting help from the Future Foundation. He thinks that if they come to help, they'll find out about their connection to Junko, and that would look pretty bad on them. Like working with the person who caused World War 69 is not a good look. Anyway, so dumb. Anyway, the girls go further up the building to Kodako hanging from, I don't know what that's for, about to be eaten by bears, and they save her. Kotoko says Monica has gone mad and keeps talking about this successor shit and she's not on her side anymore. Toko doesn't believe her and she, no, I don't want to go to jail. The girls then get to the bloody room that Monica was in where dark web shit happens to find Komaru and Makoto's name on the floor written in blood. Next, the girls go into Monica's Junko room and... yeah, that looks about right. Next, it's Monica boss fight time. Shoot the glowing balls until the bear comes out and whack at him. After the fight, the girls get the controller that controls the Monokumas and the brainwashing of the kids. You would think to just break it and they all live happily ever after, but no. You see this shit right here? Those are kids exploding. Don't break the controller. It's fucked up too, since over the next 30 fucking minutes, the game tries to get you to break the controller. If you do it, you have to keep restarting. If I hadn't chose to break the thing at the first choice, I would imagine myself getting anxious over this shit. This is where shit starts to unravel. Monica is actually trying to get Komaru to destroy the controller and blow everything up. When Monica was talking about becoming the second generation Junko Enoshima, she wasn't talking about herself, even though it's written to sound that way. Monica was referring to Komaru. What's a better way to induce despair upon the world than making the little sister of the Ultimate Hope kill a bunch of kids? To further convince Komaru to break the controller and fuck everything, Monica straight up shows Komaru's dead parents hanging from the ceiling. Remember Komaru and Makoto's name on the ground in that bloody room? Monica says that their mom wrote it on the ground as she died. That's fucked. Damn, you just love to hate that bitch. So obviously Komaru is a bit unstable at this point, but Toko with the power of friendship snapped her out of it. Near the end, the giant Monokuma shows up to tear some shit up. The girls beat the giant robot in a fight that lasted too long with really shitty camera controls for some reason. They shoot the big Monokuma with hope, and Shirokuma pops out of there, that bastard. Monica gets trapped under some rubble. Byakuya gets rescued, and they all lived happily ever after. Or do they? Monica gets carried out by Nagito, so we'll probably see her again. And Shirokuma, along with Kurokuma, is actually Junko in evil AI form, which makes sense considering this takes place before Danganronpa 2. Oh, and there's Hajime. Hello, Hajime. Komaru decides to stay in Towa City to help the locals, and Toko joins her. And also, Komaru's parents are okay. Those are just fake bodies before. Okay, now it's the end. As much as the story picks up towards the end, it's nowhere as good as the first and second game. There are a lot of anime tropes in this game, from adults bad to friendship overcomes everything, and they feel very overdone. Many of the interactions between the heroines are just Komaru complains about being a normal girl so she can't do shit, and Toko yells at her. It's pretty repetitive, and my cock went numb. I enjoy seeing the origins of Monokuma and who made him, and the revelation of Monica's plans had me hard for a while, but that's about it. The story lacks most of the intrigue and mystery aspects of the previous Danganronpa games, with the only reason I had to get through the story being to see how Komaru fits into all this. It's a very anime story which fits, but it could have been a bit more. Danganronpa, another episode, Ultra Despair Girls, is a fun third-person puzzle game with shooting attached to it. The arcade puzzle rooms are fun to figure out, but the combat is too basic and becomes repetitive quick, even with the new ammo types added and Jack's abilities upgraded. Some stages felt too long and repetitive. The bosses are pretty simple and not as challenging as they should be. The music is pretty good, as always. The story is cheesy with a lot of anime tropes and felt repetitive with the way it handled interactions between the heroines. It picked up by the end, but for the most part it's just okay. Ultra Despair Girls is an alright package. I just wish they leaned in on the puzzle aspects more and the gameplay and add more mystery to the story, since I find that aspect lacking compared to the first two games. I finished the game in 12.5 hours, but you can go back to find collectibles and finish the levels again for better ranking, so there's some replayability to it. Overall, a decent game. The fans will definitely love it, but if you're a new player, you should at least play the first game before playing this one for the story. If you don't care about the story and are just looking for a simple puzzle game with light shooter gameplay, this does the job fine, I think. Life's been busy and Elden Ring came out, so my bones are weak and my ass is wet. I don't know what I just said there. But yeah, remember to leave a like and subscribe and all that. See you next time, whenever that is. Later.